play can be a good medium. Playing a game of checkers or playing a game of cards or drawing, things that really integrate, more of that type of activity, I think is a good way to help figure out how is this young person doing.
Welcome to Now What podcast. And today I'm your host, Yogi Patel, and we have Susan Belangi, and she is a amazing Adlerian that I'm privileged to have a conversation with today. Susan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. I'm so grateful that you invited me to be a part of this. It's always fun to get to talk about Adlerian psychology. So I am Dr. Susan Belangi, and I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I live in the Atlanta, Georgia area. I've been a licensed professional counselor most of my career. That has included private practice work, teaching at universities, online as well as in person. Kind of within the last 5 years, the main hat that I've been wearing is as executive director of the North American Society of Adlerian Psychology, or NASAP for short. Recently, within the last, 7-8 months or so, I launched my own business, decided to leave private practice work and launch my own business that's based on an Adlerian lifestyle assessment, which we'll probably, talk about at some point over the course of our conversation. But that's the other piece that I'm kind of involved in and growing, is this new business to do consultation work and training. I have many people who want to know how I use the Basis A in my practice and with various types of clients and settings. And so that's something else that I am in the process of developing also. So I came to Adlerian psychology, kind of as most people do, at least in my experience. Most people, take a master's level program, counseling type program, and then get introduced to Alfred Adler as part of their theories class. So for me, it was pretty much the same. I had started my doctoral program at Georgia State University. There were several Adlerian professors there, and so I quickly became immersed in Adlerian psychology. I was serving as managing editor of the Journal of Individual Psychology pretty much the whole time I was a student at Georgia State. And then once I graduated, it really became, kind of my way of living, and how I based my teaching and, pretty much everything in my life. It really does become a way of just living life for many of us. So that's how I guess I came to know about Adler and Adlerian psychology, since 1998. So now we're going on, 26 years or so that I would say I'm an Adlerian. And so for many people, they're like, well, what does that even mean? And so for me, what it means is I am someone who values belonging and contribution to the community in which I live. And if I can help foster, that same sense of belonging, for others, then that's me doing a good thing in this world. So Adlerians value connection, community, family, friendships, really being a civically minded person, someone who wants to improve themselves while also helping others improve. So it's a very horizontal, we talk about a horizontal striving. And so as we strive to make a living and do good in our families and our communities, we want others to kind of have the same opportunities and take advantage of those opportunities. And then we kind of raise the community all together. So that's to me what Adlerian psychology is all about.
Well, it's a beautiful view of having this community that what's good for us and bringing the community with us. So we're all striving and thriving together. I can relate to being an Adlerian. It's definitely something I've heard about. I'm very new to Adlerian psychology, just 15 years into learning, and in the past 5 years, even more so. And I uniquely find myself drawn to the contribution that we get to offer and support others and be supported. So as we talk about Adlerian psychology, I appreciate what you said, that not everyone may have heard about Adlerian psychology. So we'll break it down little by little and delve into this whole podcast and just sort of look at different tools from Adlerian psychology theory and how that could work in relationships in various areas. So how does Adlerian principles of holism and wellness contribute to creating a nurturing environment for children, students in schools, or parents at home, or teachers?
Alfred Adler when he was writing, and he was a contemporary of Sigmund Freud. So that goes back to the late 1800s, early 1900s. Adler was born in 1870 and died in 1937, just to give people a context of the era. At the time he was writing and developing his theory, he talked about really 3 tasks of life, right? So when we think about all the things that people can be involved in, Adler broke it down to 3 areas: career, or the work task; the social task, which included friendships; and then the intimate partner task. As he was writing, the term he would use for that is sex or intimacy. And so again, kind of being of the era in which he was writing, he was referring to, marriage, typically, a man and a woman. And, since that time, I think it's important to emphasize that Adlerians have, adapted and taken that into context, that the area in which he was writing may not fit now. And so I think Adlerians today would say that, marriage is, more than just kind of that strict definition. I think these days people would talk about the intimacy task based on, again, kind of that significant relationship of someone who supports you in your life that doesn't necessarily have to involve sexual behaviors. And maybe that's, and people wanted to hear in this podcast, but I think it's important that, as life, as communities, as people, have evolved over time, and there seems to be much more freedom now than there was back when Adler was writing. I think it makes sense that our theory has evolved and adapted alongside these, more cultural adaptations of what does love look like, and, who does it involve. I'm one of the Adlerians that says there's 5 life tasks. And so I hold my hand up because I think it's an easy representation. So when I think about holism and wellness, I'm attending to, for myself or for clients or students or, kind of whomever I would be working with, this idea. And some of it is age-based. So if we think about career, right, I always kind of put that on the thumb because that's important. If we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if we don't have shelter and food, it's kind of hard to do much else in life. So that's why I put that on the thumb. So when you're talking about kids, that's school. Most of the time, school-age children, their task in terms of career is going to be school. For, people beyond the school years, you're talking about a career, a job, that workplace environment. For little kids, their work is play. And that's something else that Adlerians have grown to be known for. So Adlerian play therapy is a whole area of work within the field, and that does have an evidence-based status. So if you want to do Adlerian play therapy with little kids, that's a good way to go. So that's the career task. And then we have the social task. So again, think about friendships and clubs, organizations, things that bring you in touch with other people. And then we have the intimate partner task. Again, as Adler would have called that, the intimacy task, the sex task. And then these 2, I think it kind of is in the eye of the beholder. I usually put self on the ring finger. So for me, that means, how are you doing within yourself? How are you doing in terms of self-care and, productivity and, those things that really kind of speak to you. And then the last finger is the spirituality task. And that doesn't mean organized religion. That could mean just a sense of being connected to something bigger than you. And again, that's kind of where Adler's ideas about belonging and social interest, and his ideal world would be one where everybody and everything in the cosmos is just, finds its way to contribute and belong. So for me, that's holism. So I look at my hand, and then, we can kind of figure out, how are things going at work? How are things going in terms of, the social connection? If I'm single right now, how am I feeling about that? Is there something else I want to do to bring myself perhaps into a more intimate relationship? Or am I okay, with myself as I am? And then again, kind of looking at, self-care aspects, spirituality aspects, things like that, to really give us that comprehensive understanding of self, recognizing others have the same tasks that they're attending to. And so when we adapt it to, little kids or adults or teens or whomever, I think it's just a neat way to have them stop and look at their hand and figure out, how's life going for me?
The hand model works beautifully. It was just a great illustration for me visually. And those who are listening on the audio podcast can definitely visualize the fingers. Can we talk a little bit more about children and play and the life task and the importance of all five and connecting them.
There's a wonderful quote within the Adlerian community that says, children need encouragement like plants need water. And so one of the ways that parents, teachers, older siblings, older children can encourage each other, is through play. And so figuring out, is someone feeling capable? Is someone feeling, or is a little kid feeling left out because maybe they don't get chosen on the ball field? And so when we talk to kids about, how life is going for them, and again, kids aren't going to sit down and have that same kind of conversation like an adult would. And so we have to meet them where they are. And so, that's where play can be a good medium, playing a game of checkers or playing a game of cards or drawing, things that really integrate, more of that type of activity, I think is a good way to help figure out how is this young person doing? And so as you watch them play, are they engaged in it or not? Is it something that they jump right into, or are they a little more hesitant? And that can give you a sense about, do they feel like they're capable? Do they feel like they have something that they can contribute? And if not, then maybe that's, something you can attend to. What would be something, I'll just say Johnny, that you would want to do together, that we could do together, that would feel like play to you? And kind of go with that. But then through that, you can also ask questions about who's your friend? Who do you play with most? Or who do you sit next to at lunch? And again, if you're hearing like, well, I always sit by myself, nobody wants to sit with me. There's ways of using play to then help a young person develop some skills to take into those kinds of environments if something isn't going quite the way that they want to.
If you like the content of this video, please don't forget to follow. And also, if you want more information, visit the website, Yogi Patel, TTE.com.